Test, test, test.
Folk music.
Oh, folk.
Or
Okay.
rhyme it with Coke, she said. Folk.
Thank you. Testing. Testing. We're on, I think, right? Okay.
Trying to get it a little bit lower so you didn't have to. Is that good?
Yeah.
No?
That's not going. Can you back it up a little bit more?
I can. Is that good?
That's better, I think.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. It's okay now. That's about where I want it. Okay, thank you. Good morning, and welcome to our second March meeting for Young at Heart. It's good to see you here today. I'm Betty Beard, and I am your hostess for today. I want to congratulate you on being able to buy the gasoline to get you here today. I am certainly glad to see you. We do have a good group. We have some who have been here maybe once before, and this is your second trip back, so we're glad to see you. That would be Ken and Mildred Prim. And we have Clara and Don Veach that I believe it's your first time here. That's good. And we have Stan and Laura Hayes. Here, okay. We're so glad to have you. I hope I covered everybody. But it is a good day to be out. We are now in the season of spring, so we're ready to get out, and I'm glad to see you here. I checked the board in the office, and I learned that Don Valerie has been placed in the Veterans Home that's on the Parkway. He is in room 312B. This is new information, so you'll want to keep Don Valerie in your mind. And Bess Myers has been taken to a facility to have rehab. Do you know of other people that we need to mention or be aware of? It's on Brownlee Road, and that's the only thing I know about that. Old Brownlee. Okay. Pastor Mark is not always with us. He's here with us today, so I'm glad about that. I want to recognize our media people. Now, we were a little bit late getting the microphone set up, but I want us to give a hand to Melanie and Sarah that have been working with us this morning to get the sound on. Thank you so much. They do such a good job of getting our sound working, and so you can hear me. There's going to be a spring carnival here on April 16th. That is the Saturday just before Easter Sunday. It will be on the parking lot out, and sort of like what we do at Halloween, using the trunks of your vehicles. So you'll want to be aware of that. It will be from 2 to 4 in the afternoon on that day, and they are looking for people to sign up as volunteers to work. They will want games to go on, and they'll need some prizes for the games, and they'll need donations of candy and all of that kind of thing, so you can be thinking about that. The other thing that's going on right now around the church is the Lenten luncheons and the study that our pastors are conducting. That's been going on now, I believe, about 3 weeks, and it's going to go through April 12th. And we will be preparing the meal and serving it and then cleaning up afterward on April 5th. The Life Searchers Sunday School class will be helping us at that time. There's not a plan right now for recruiting workers, but you may be called, and of course we want to be available that day for whatever job we need to do. So that's going to be on April 5th. I have door prizes to give out today, and rather than use drawing numbers or names like we do sometimes, I want to do this by fives. Whoever is signing in on the 5th line, the 10th, and the 15th, and such as that. I have Harriet Folk. Evidently, you're number 5. I have Wayne Beach. Number 15 would be Bonnie Self. Number 20 would be Carolyn Grice. '25 would be Madonna Payne. And the last one is Gwen McKellar. Thank you, Krista.
Who was that before Gwen? Who was before Gwen?
Madonna Payne.
Okay.
I jotted down a few facts about the month of March, which I want to read to you. What is the flower of the month? You can tell me that. I didn't hear the right one yet. That's it. To me, that's the first thing that you see in the springtime, and there were a bunch of them at Super One last Saturday, and they were so pretty. Definitely, yes. And what is the birthstone for the month? Aquamarine. I did hear someone say that. Aquamarine. It was in March 1889 that the Eiffel Tower was officially opened to the public. It was the tallest building in the world for 41 years before being surpassed by the Chrysler Building. And where is the Chrysler Building? I did hear someone say New York. Alexander Graham Bell made the first ever phone call on the 10th of March, 1876. He called his assistant and said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." It was on the 29th of March, 1886, that Coca-Cola was developed. The original formula included a small amount of cocaine to give the drinker a bit of a buzz. Now, aren't you glad they changed the recipe for that? Famous people born in the month of March include Albert Einstein, Vincent van Gogh, Daniel Craig, Justin Bieber, Bruce Willis, Margaret Edens, Kim Glass, Geneva Hensley, Nancy Hughley, Ken Mayo, Kathy Moore, Nancy Sipe, Larry Grice. That is famous people born in the month of March. Now, y'all may know that Geneva got married on her birthday. Her birthday was the 7th, and she and Bill also celebrated 57 years of marriage on that day. Is Beth Daugherty here today? Tom and Beth, oh, okay. Tom and Beth Daugherty were married 66 years on March 12th. Okay, I have a little test for you today. Now, a couple of months ago, I read about this, and it said it's practically impossible to do. Now, what are you going to do when you read something like that? That's a challenge, and you have to try it. So I thought I would put that test to you. Right where you sit, I want you to pick your right foot up about 2 inches off the floor and circle it clockwise. And if I try that up here, I'm probably going to fall down. Circle it clockwise. Now I want you to put your right hand up in the air and make the number 6. 6. Okay. What is your foot doing? When I try that, my foot's going the other way. All right, let's try it just one more time. Right foot up, circle clockwise. Right hand up, number 6. That just might be something you'd want to practice at home. Do you ever think about the lifespan of us as people and also the creatures around us? I have a little piece here that I want to read to you. Life explained by God. When God created the world, he also created the dog, the monkey, and the cow. Told through the eyes of the dog, the monkey, and the cow, and their conversations with God during creation, life is explained simply. On the first day, God created the dog and said, "Sit all day by the door of your house and bark at anyone who comes in or walks past. For this I will give you a lifespan of 20 years." The dog said, "That's a long time to be barking. How about only 10 years and I'll give you back the other 10? So God agreed with the dog. On the second day, God created the monkey and said, "Entertain people, do tricks, and make them laugh. For this I'll give you a 20-year lifespan." The monkey said, "Monkey tricks for 20 years? That's a pretty long time to perform. How about I give you back 10 like the dog did?" On the third day, God created the cow and said, "You must go into the field with the farmer all day long and suffer under the sun, have calves, and give milk to support the farmer's family. For this I will give you a lifespan of 60 years. The cow said, "That's kind of a tough life you want me to live for 60 years. How about 20, and I'll give you back the other 40. On the fourth day, God created man and said, "Eat, sleep, play, marry, and enjoy your life. For this I'll give you 20 years. But man said, "Only 20 years? Could you possibly give me my 20, the 40 the cow gave back, the 10 the monkey gave back, and the 10 the dog gave back? That makes 80, okay?" "Okay," said God, "you asked for it." So that is why the first 20 years we eat, sleep, play, and enjoy ourselves. For the next 40 years, we slave in the sun to support our family. For the next 10 years, we do monkey tricks to entertain the grandchildren. And for the last 10 years, we sit on the front porch and bark at everyone. And that's how life is explained through God's creation. Thank you. I want to tell you that our next meeting will be April 14th, and Tony Thornton will be our guest. Now, this time of year, we're going to have plenty of questions for him about planting things. So you'll want to be sure and be here on the 14th. I believe Jane Cooper will be our hostess at that time. I have a treat for you all today. I didn't know I was going to have it until this morning, but you're going to like it. My daughter-in-law is here from Keller, Texas. She is married to my son, Mike, who is a retired Air Force colonel. And they have 2 children, son and a daughter, who are grown and they're making their way into the world. Mandy has a story that will make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, and she did agree to come and let you hear what happened to her. So I want you to give a good welcome to Mandy Beard, my daughter-in-law. Is this okay?
Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I'm glad to be a part of this. I hear every month about Young at Heart and what you all do, and I often am in charge of sending little things that might be entertaining for her to use. In fact, the dog, this lifespan, was from me. The story I'm going to share with you today is something that's just near and dear to my heart. It is an explanation of how at a critical point in my life, God spoke to me in a very personal way. I'm going to get emotional. I didn't want to do that. But goes along with our military lifestyle that we live. My husband was 27 years in the Air Force, and over the course of that, we've lived everywhere from Japan to Germany, and all across the southern part of the United States. Only once were we anywhere close to the north, and that was in Washington, D.C. But when our daughter was about 5 years old, we moved to Germany, and we were stationed at Spangdahlem, Germany, which is only about maybe 10 miles from Bitburg. Some of you may have heard of Bitburg. Most haven't heard of Spangdahlem because it's a very small area, but the bases were fairly close together. And I had not ever been to Europe before. And so when we moved to Germany, we flew into Frankfurt, and some people from the base came and picked us up to drive us back to Spangdahlem, where we were going to be living. My husband was a lieutenant colonel at the time, about to become a full colonel, and his job on the base was going to be the flying operations, taking care of all the flying operations on the base. So we were kind of treated extra special by having somebody come in a van and pick us up and take us back to where we were going to be living. So as we're riding in the van to Spangdahlem, I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to the Autobahn. This was the first time I'd been on an Autobahn in Europe, and of course they drive very, very fast, and you're not really allowed to pull off on the shoulder if you need to stop for anything. You have to take an exit, out. So they were explaining all these things to us in the vehicle as we were driving back to the base where we were going to be living. And our daughter was, again, about 5 years old. She fell asleep, as we're traveling and everything. And we get to the place where we're going to be living, and they've got a house arranged for us. And so we get a chance to move in and get settled. Well, we had been there about not quite a year when our son Jason was born. He was born in the year 2000, in June of that year. And so at that point, we decided we would make a trip back at Christmas time to bring him to this church and have him christened in the Methodist church here. We could have done it on the chapel on the base, but we were of Methodist faith as well, and so we wanted to come back to Mike's home church and have him christened here. So we spent a few days during the holiday with Betty and the family, and decided it was time to head back because Mike had to get back to work after the first of the year. And so when we flew back to Frankfurt, we flew overnight. Most of the time you've got a flight over there, you leave at night, you arrive early in the morning. And so we'd gotten there early in the morning. We had our van that we had left at the airport, and we loaded the kids up in the car and got all the luggage all situated. And everybody was tired because we'd been overnight. So one little tidbit I have to tell you, Mike being a pilot, has a real hard time sleeping when he flies, even on an airline. And so he spent pretty much the whole night awake, and we get in the car and we're heading back to Spangdahlem. Well, the only time I've ever made this trip from the airport in Frankfurt to Spang was when we first got there, and we had an escort that was taking us there, and I wasn't paying much attention to anything that was where we were, the signs or anything like that. So we get in the car and we're starting back, and I see Mike starting to do this number. He's tired, he didn't sleep, so he's starting to nod off, and I said, "Why don't you let me drive?" And he said, "I'm okay for now." So I took my rings off because I'd been flying, and everything's dried out, your skin's all dried out. So I took my rings off and I put them in my lap and grabbed some lotion, went to put some lotion on my hands, and Mike said, "I think I'm gonna need you to drive." And so I said, okay. So I'm making sure everything's out of the way, and he goes, "I'm just gonna pull over on the shoulder and we're gonna do the, change seats real quick and so we can get on home." So I'm like, okay, so I'm getting everything set so we're not tripping over anything. And I got out of the car and went around and traded seats with him and then drove on back to Spangdahlem. Well, we didn't take an exit, and I wasn't familiar with the exits. I just was following road signs that said to Spangdahlem or whatever. We get home and we get everything unpacked. Kids getting the kids all situated. I go to start cooking dinner, and I always take my rings off when I cook. And I went, where are my rings? And it dawned on me after a few minutes that my rings were in my lap when I got out of the car. And we're talking this ring right here and this one right here. And it scared me to death. I thought, oh, my wedding rings, my jewelry, this is my symbol of my love for my husband, and I can't believe they're somewhere on the side of the road along the Autobahn in Germany. So I didn't sleep hardly at all, and I didn't tell Mike that night because I thought that was just my stupidity. And so I just lay there that night, and I was just praying. I said, God, I know that these are material objects, but it is so important to me. And if you can find a way to let me know where in the world I can find them, I'm going to try. So the next morning, got my daughter off to school. Mike was off to work. I put my son, my 6-month-old child, back in the car seat, and I started back to Frankfurt. And I had no idea where we had stopped. I hadn't been paying attention to any kind of road signs, nothing. I just literally trusted God to guide me. And I'm here to tell you that I'm driving down the highway. I was probably a good hour, past an hour into the drive, and I just was praying the whole way, Lord, just guide me to where I need to be. And I just all of a sudden felt like I needed to take an exit and turn around. And so I took that exit, turned around, got back on the highway, going back the other direction, and again, God just tugged on me and said, you need to pull over. And I pulled over on the side of the road. I got out of my vehicle, walked around the back of it, and there were my rings. Praise God. Now, if that is not God speaking directly to me, I don't know what it would be, because I had no idea where we'd been. So from that moment on, I shared that story with everybody imaginable, because sometimes we feel like, okay, that was women's intuition. And there is something to be said for women's intuition, but I think God finds a specific way to speak to each and every one of us about things that we're really passionate about and things where we truly trust him. And he provided that for me. So I wanted to share that with you guys and let you know that when you get that little inkling in your ear or you feel that little tug on your heart, that often is an opportunity for God to speak.
Isn't she great? I don't think I told you that they live in Keller, Texas, which is north of Fort Worth. So she made an exception to be here today, and I am so happy that she did, and I know you're glad to have heard her too. I am very happy to welcome a guest that we have today. Mr. Clay Eves is going to entertain us. I believe he is from the Shreveport Eclectic Theater that we used to have Mr. Richard Fulmer come and send people over to entertain to us. He would send his performers. We know that we have had them for many years, and we were saddened, as everyone else was recently, to learn that Mr. Fulmer had passed away. But I believe it is from that same agency that Mr. Eves comes, and we will have him here today to entertain us. He is married to Betsy Eves. They have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. He is a previous sign shop owner, now retired from real work, I'm told. We know how that goes, don't we? His hobbies are singing, guitar, piano, pickleball, hiking, water sports, local theater, woodworking. He doesn't have time to eat or sleep, does he? Where are you, Clay? Okay. Would you come, please, and entertain us? Let's give him a big hand.